Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Diving into Doctor Who on It's a Wonderful Podcast. I don't know why I'm smiling, Jeannine, because it's very sad.
Nothing
It's
to
very
smile about
emotional.
here.
Nothing.
Very upset
It's-
with you.
It's a very sad time. The emotions are running very high at the moment on Diving into Doctor Who. We have, of course, now reached the season 2, series 2, I should say, finale, the iconic episode Doomsday from 2006. 20 years old this episode is, very nearly. Of course, only a few weeks ago it was I think the official 20th anniversary of the start of series 2
Okay.
of Doctor Who. I want to say it was back in April. So, nearly exactly 20 years has passed since Bad Wolf Bay, Rose and the Doctor longing for each other on that grey, cloudy beach at the end of this series, Jeannine. A moment that lives strong in many a Doctor Who fan of the era's memory. A moment that I feel prompted the peak mainstream success of this era of Doctor Who as well. I feel like once this series 2 finale hit, we hit that modern peak of Doctor Who's popularity, certainly in Britain, and it stayed there. It stayed pretty level for 3 or 4 years, and kind of then went a bit slightly less mainstream, if not, some people say better, some people say worse, whatever it may be, whatever you may think about the Stephen Moffat era as well. But I think it's undeniable to argue with the popularity and impact of this finale, this episode, this particular moment by the end of this episode. And you're right in saying that you're upset to talk about this. You are upset with me for showing you this, because we've been, over the course of talking about series 2, of course, in recent episodes of Diving into Doctor Who, we've been speaking about how often the Doctor and Rose have felt very separated in the episodes, how we believe it's been alluding to something, or how you believe it's been alluding to a separation and eventual, kind of moving on from Rose. And then, of course, at the beginning of the last episode we talked about, which was Army of Ghosts, the first part of this series 2 finale in the last Diving into Doctor Who, we had that little voiceover from Rose about this is the story of how I die, and it threw you a little bit. I think, Jeannine, I don't think you were quite expecting any sort of death necessarily from Rose. So I think those words, that wording, through you, we get a reiteration of that sort of narration in
that's
today's...
the last story she'll ever tell, kind of thing. She says.
Exactly. The last story I'll ever tell. This is the story of how I die and all this kind of stuff. We are only here talking about one episode as well on today's episode. Usually we do talk 2 on each Diving into Doctor Who, but this is Doomsday. This is a big deal for this era of Doctor Who. It needed its own episode, I fear. Before we get into any of that ending, though, how do we feel about the other things, the very, very significant, very big things that do happen in this finale? Put the very end out of your mind. Everything after that breach is opened, that big white wall's opened, everything starts getting sucked in. Everything before that, what are we feeling about it?
This was a really big episode. It felt big. It was very action-packed. all the conflict between the Daleks and the Cybermen and their little sassy back and forths were
The Daleks
hilarious.
are on sassy peak at this point, by the
Yes,
way.
all of that was so kinda cool because it's like 2 big entities that I wouldn't expect to interacting and how what would
Yeah.
that look like? So it was kinda cool to see, um, what that looked like. Um,
It's
but yeah,
fun
there's a lot of
to know that this is actually the first time the Daleks and the Cybermen ever interacted in Doctor
yeah,
Who. Obviously, it's 2006. Doctor Who began in 1963, and they'd never
yeah,
interacted before this.
yeah,
They were always separate stories
separate
for the
entities, yeah,
separate villains. But it is a big deal in that sense as well, as opposed
yeah.
to being the grand season finale that it does very much feel like.
Yeah, I also liked them taking that moment with, Rose's parents and having them kind of come together, despite, her dad not dad, like, knowing that, like, this is not my
Yeah,
Jackie, but still feeling something for her,
yeah,
and that not really being her husband, but still feeling something for him and her being really honest about, why she's never really done anything with her life and, taking a really solid minute to marinate in those feelings,
yeah,
uh, and give Jackie a bit of a serious moment while still letting her be wholly Jackie, like when he says his silly ideas that didn't amount to much in their timeline, in his timeline, his silly ideas amounted to him being very rich, and Jackie
yes,
asking, "How rich? I don't care." "Well, is it really rich?" "No, no, I don't care about that." So
yes, exactly.
wholly being Jackie, but still really conveying a lot of emotion, and I like getting to see her be a little deeper, and also him kind of when Rose was kind of trying to connect with him in episodes prior and he was very distant, really just not, "This is not my child."
Yeah,
Um,
in that Age of Steel two-parter halfway
yeah,
through the series, yeah.
yeah, seeing him kind of try to be that way, but just having Jackie in front of him, he couldn't, uh, you know, continue to push those feelings aside. He really was feeling something real despite them knowing that they're from different times. So I
Yeah.
loved the little moment that they gave, to that as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's arguably I know the ending Bad Wolf Bay and everything like that does
yeah,
it stays in the mind long after watching this episode, but I really do think maybe the high point emotionally of the whole episode is that scene between our Jackie and the parallel Pete,
yeah,
who obviously only comes back. He wasn't in Army of Ghost. He only comes back into the fray in this episode in
yeah,
Doomsday. We meet parallel Pete again,
yeah,
um, and it's it's a really it's a really, really impactful moment. It's a really, really lovely moment. I'm going to give a little bit of a synopsis of
yes,
Doomsday before we do talk anymore, as I feel we may get a little bit all over the place in just talking some highlights of the whole episode.
yeah,
But the synopsis is as follows: a secret order of Daleks emerge from the sphere, and the Cybermen from the parallel universe make their way to Torchwood Tower. As the two deadly forces fight over Earth, the 10th Doctor realizes that in order to stop the threat, sacrifices must be made. They must indeed be made, mustn't they, Doctor?
yeah,
Now, the Daleks as well. We'll get into a bit more on Jackie and Pete and the
mhm,
Tylers and everything like that. Sure, Mickey's there as well.
yeah.
Obviously, we get even Jake, the
Oh,
revolutionary
yeah, he comes
from the
through as well,
parallel
yeah,
world, the Cyberman's world, and everybody's coming through. Everybody's coming through.
to help
There's a
fight
problem with
some
everybody
kind of
coming
threat.
through
Yeah,
because the space time is kind of cracking and the both worlds are slowly being kind of boiled the amount of time people travel from one to another.
yeah,
The doctor's spoken in the past about how impossible travel between parallel universes is.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
seemingly they've developed these devices that they can wear around their necks to just push the button and travel between these parallel universes because, of course, in their world as well, they have their equivalent, Torchwood, who's well aware of all the
Of what's
alien
going on, yeah.
things going on. It's the exact same. And they've been able to develop this damaging technology. The Doctor
Yeah.
is kind of terrified of the possibilities of this
Yeah,
technology because of
destroys I think
how
they say it destroys the world a little bit
exactly.
each time it gets used, yeah.
Yeah. Which is why there's kind of a limiter on
Yeah.
how often they kind of want to use this, or at least how often the Doctor wants them to use it to save themselves, essentially. But they do need everybody there in
Yeah.
order to, defeat the looming by threat of the Cybermen and the
Yeah.
Daleks, of course. With the Daleks now coming back into play, the synopsis did mention it was a secret order of Daleks who are very,
Yeah.
very important in themselves. The cult of
Yeah.
Skaro Daleks,
Mhm.
they all have little names as well, which seems unusual
Yeah,
for a
doctor was
Dalek
very
to
surprised by that.
very surprised to have a kind of humanity of a name and all this sort of
Mhm.
stuff. But the cult of Skaro kind of act as the highest authority of all Daleks, really. I know
Mm.
we met the Emperor Dalek at the end of series one, didn't we? That enormous, large, huge Dalek that
Yeah.
Rose ended up destroying through, um, what do you call it? Not embracing, but I'm going to use the word embracing the time vortex and
Yeah.
blasting it into his face, essentially. Which she obviously has some quite intimidating moments with the cult of Skaro Daleks herself when she explains to
Yeah.
them that she's fully aware of who they are, what
Oh, yeah.
Daleks are, and that she was able to kill the Emperor
Kill one.
Dalek. And
Yeah.
and,
Mhm.
and the Daleks, they're quite stunned by
Yeah.
this revelation, really. They don't quite know what to do, and I do enjoy the attitude of Daleks a great deal, and I think I particularly do enjoy the attitude of these four
Oh,
Daleks
yeah. They're
because
sassy
there's
as hell.
something so there's something so sassy about them, but there's something so deadpan about them as well. And when
Yeah.
Rose is kind of getting on a justifiable high horse a little bit and going, "I know who you are. I'm
Yeah.
gonna, you know, this will, we'll be able to defeat you. You see that guy over there? He's the Doctor. Now you're scared, aren't you?" And the Dalek's just staring in her face as though he's
Oh,
just going,
yeah.
"Oh,
Oh god.
oh, I
Yeah.
didn't think about
Think
that." But he's
about
just
that. Yeah.
silently going, "Oh," and he look. If a Dalek could look a bit gormless, the Dalek would look gormless at this point, and I love it.
Yeah.
But notably, there is just hilarity that comes from, in particular, the interactions between the Daleks and the Cybermen when they do face each other, when they do meet each other, when they do
Yeah.
realize that each other are a bit of a threat. The Cybermen, I think, propose an alliance at one
Yes.
point in order to obviously begin to take over the
Take
world
over.
as they wish to do.
Yeah.
The Daleks are not for having an alliance with the Cybermen at
Immediately reject
all.
it. Yeah,
Immediate,
immediately.
but the way it is done is so funny because they always repeat each other's sentences and repeat each other's words
Yeah.
and things like that. The Cybermen will go, "We propose an alliance. Together we will conquer the universe." And the Daleks, "Your alliance is rejected. We will have no alliance here with you." "Then it
Yes,
is war," says the Cybermen. And
but
the
even when they're
Daleks,
first introducing themselves.
we would be happy to be at war with you. We are 5 million Cybermen. How many are you? We are 4. You propose war with the Cybermen with 4 Daleks. or like, you plan to kill 5 million Cybermen with 4 Daleks,
So,
and the
yeah.
Daleks' best line, "We would destroy 5 million Cybermen with 1 Dalek."
Right?
The
But even when they're
arrogance
first, like,
of
introducing themselves, they're just like, "Identify. No, you identify," and they just go back and forth before they even start any of that. They're just like, "No one will identify first."
but the stupid thing about that is, the hilarious thing about that is that because of the way the Daleks speak, they actually say the words, "Daleks do not identify themselves," and the Cybermen just go, "You have
You just
identified
identify
yourselves as
yourself as
Daleks."
Dalek.
And the Daleks
Yes.
must just be thinking, "Oh dear, oh,
Oh
I
gosh,
didn't mean to do
we
that."
cocked that up.
We've
But
completely
yes,
screwed that up.
that whole exchange, and then it gets to the point where, Daleks kinda throw a huge last kind of barb in there
Oh,
because
this might be the
Cybermen are
best
only
one.
superior to Daleks in one way, how they die. Like, what?
What's it? It is. It's like you are superior to Daleks in only one way. You are better at
They're
dying.
dying. So bad. So all of that was so enjoyable. Like
Very enjoyable.
I could have just watched them go back and forth for the
I
whole
I I
episode.
can me too. I can honestly, I can just listen to Daleks get slightly riled up about whatever situation they're in.
Yeah.
I could feel like I could genuinely listen to it for
Yes,
hours.
it's so entertaining.
There's something very, very entertaining about the Daleks' voice, the cadence, the way that every single sentence that comes out of any Dalek it comes with a little shake of the body.
Yes, and even the voice, it has like this petulant kind of,
So
tantrum
petulant.
quiver.
They
Like,
are children.
yes.
What? We do not agree with this. No, this will not happen. Who is this?
Oh my
Which
gosh.
of you
Yeah.
are which of you is least important? We will kill the least important. No, no, that's not how it works here.
Exactly.
You're not killing any of us. We're all
Yeah.
important. This cannot be. One of you must be least important. They can't
Always.
understand
Yeah, no.
anything.
No, they're always, like, ready to just have a big tantrum, and it's
But
great.
they're obviously still the massive threat that they are. We
Yeah.
actively
Mhm.
see 4 Daleks
Yeah.
destroy a lot of
A lot of
Cybermen,
Cybermen,
and
yeah.
they also have this Genesis Arc machine, which is another little mysterious traveling
Yeah.
transporting machine that the Daleks seem to have, that is revealed to have Time Lord technology in, and there's a bit of wandering around, with a few people with the
Yes, and
doctors
they
goes,
can't
"How
open
what?"
it because it's not their
They
technology. Yeah.
correct. The Daleks themselves can't open it. It takes a time it has to have time traveler energy in order for it to open. So
Yeah.
I think after one little shooty battle with the Cybermen
Mhm.
revolutionaries and the Cybermen and the Daleks, and it's all a bit of a kind of
A chaotic
three-way
little
war
mess.
going on.
Yeah.
Um, Mickey ends
Mickey
up touching,
touching
actually,
it, yeah.
kind of accidentally falling into this
Yeah.
Genesis Arc machine, touching it, and because obviously Mickey has time traveled, Mickey has been on the TARDIS, the energy is transferred over
Yeah.
to this Genesis Arc machine, and the Time Lord technology therein is revealed to essentially it acts as a
Unlocking.
TARDIS, a part
Yes.
of a sort of TARDIS, in the sense that it is bigger on the inside, and it is revealed to be a Dalek
A
prison ship
prison. Yes.
with millions of Daleks inside. Now, 4
Unleashed
Daleks were
now.
doing enough destruction. We
Yeah.
saw them doing enough destruction in the streets of London. We saw them doing enough destruction to the Cybermen. What on earth
Mhm.
are
Yeah.
millions and millions of Daleks going to do? And I think I've had this thought in past episodes on this, I think I've explained this. I do tend to prefer the Daleks in small numbers as opposed to the kind of
The whole, like, army of them.
huge army invasion style
Yeah.
Daleks. Like 4 Daleks can invade the world. They can. One
Mhm.
Dalek can invade the world. The Daleks' arrogance in where they're saying we would destroy 5 million Cybermen with one
Yeah.
Dalek
Well,
is
yeah, we
accurate.
saw
They're not
we and then we
wrong in
saw it.
saying that.
Series 1 had that episode where we saw one Dalek take out a bunch of people.
Yeah,
So, it's already shown us what one Dalek can do.
yeah,
So in kind of going into this, we believe it when they say it.
yeah. Um, but obviously it just ramps up the scale a bit more, doesn't
Mhm.
it? It ramps up the stakes a bit more. You are wondering how the hell, this just looks like immediate destruction for
Yeah.
this world, given the amount of Daleks now in it. We know that Cybermen are across the entire
Oh, yeah.
world
We see
at
them
this
because
point.
they were appearing as ghosts to people, but now they're appearing as Cybermen, so we see them in people's homes where a whole family's
Yeah,
huddled in the corner, and the Cybermen keeping them hostage. We see the army trying to shoot a army of Cybermen walking towards them. We see them holding
yeah,
people hostage in the building and turning them into more Cybermen, so they get Jackie, and they're
yeah,
about to turn her and the Torchwood woman. They
yes,
grab her first, and Jackie's like, "This is all your fault," and she's like, "I was doing my duty, to queen and country. I was
yes,
doing my duty," and she just kept repeating that as we kind of hear her being turned,
yeah.
them cutting her open, taking her brain, and putting it into a Cyberman.
And we
So
must
I
remember
kind of
that it is dark. Some of these things
Oh,
are very,
yeah,
very
because
dark. They're
Jackie's asking
presented.
her, "What do they do? What do they do to you?" And
Yeah,
she's like, "Yeah, they cut out your brain and put it in this body." So, I liked
they're
how
pretty
she kind of was able to come back later and redeem herself in a way, like, I like that they
little
took a
bit.
little moment for that, as a
Yeah,
whole army of Cybermen are coming for them, and she, like, holds them off on the stairway as a Cyberman, and the Cybermen are like, "What are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be on
yeah.
our side," and she, her as a Cyberman is just saying, "I'm doing my part for queen and country. I'm doing my part for queen and country," and we see a little tear, like, coming out of the cyber
Yes.
eye as she's, like,
The
shooting
the
them.
the the smallest touch of humanity from Yvonne
Yeah.
Hartman left,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
cyber form is enough to
Yeah. That was a
hold
cool little
off
moment. Yeah.
hordes of Cybermen, so, the tilers at that point can escape,
Yeah.
to where they need to go, and it's a nice little noble moment for
Yeah.
Yvonne Hartman, who,
Redemption. Yeah.
he's not a villain, was not a villain in the last
No.
episode. We've just
She
had
totally
her.
believed in what she was doing. Yeah.
Exactly. Had her ideology. Torchwood is obviously very, very important. It should
Mhm.
also be mentioned that off the back of this episode and the finale, and this series finale, is where the spin-off
Torchwood
show
series
Torchwood
came. Mm.
series, the Torchwood series, does come from.
Okay.
It comes from the back of this. Torchwood obviously is destroyed, really
Yeah.
in over the course of this
In this
episode, and that
version. Yeah.
Torchwood show is the remnants of it. There's kind of
Okay.
3 people left, really,
Mm.
somewhere, and we see that, and obviously that is where Captain Jack
Captain
Harkness
Jack.
does come back
Yes.
into
Yes.
the,
I
the
think I was
universe as
aware
well.
of Yeah, I think I was aware of Torchwood and him being in it, but didn't really know what it was or what it was about
Yeah.
or anything
And
like that.
obviously we've not seen Jack, Captain Jack Harkness
Yeah.
all series, have we? But he was a
No. Yeah.
decent part of series 1 in a few
Yeah.
episodes, so we're well aware of him. Won't be the last you see of him either. He does come back to the main show.
Okay.
In I suppose in the not too distant future, he does come back to the main show as well.
Okay.
Which
But I
is
did
is
really
fun.
love his rapport with some specific characters who are no longer there, so I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that.
Oh, well, you'll be waiting to meet a few more characters yet, won't you? This
Yeah.
is where
Yeah.
we're at now. So, in terms of the Dalek Cyberman war, fairly simple. I think we enjoy that. We're
Yeah.
expecting it to end in a way where the Cybermen and the Daleks obviously don't take over the world. I think
No.
we can acknowledge
Mhm.
that it's a series finale. So yes, there's going to be sad moments, and yes, we do get those sad moments, of course. But in terms of absolute chaos and destruction, we get right up until that last possible second, and then the Doctor comes up with a genius plan, as the Doctor tends to
Yeah.
come up with genius plans. But it is a genius plan that is thoroughly discussed with the likes of Parallel Pete, as we're going to call him, who's a very smart man who knows all about this sort of stuff, been working with his version of Torchwood,
Mhm.
and he's kind of well aware of all the ramifications and the dangers of what's going on here. We get that beautiful scene of him meeting our Jackie across
Yeah.
that industrial corridor for the first time, and them kind of realizing that they're not each other's versions, but does that
Yeah.
matter? Ultimately, no. And
No.
they run into each other's arms, and it's very, very sweet. And we see
Yeah.
Rose in the background, obviously not quite being able to fully process what's going on
What's
here.
happening? Yeah.
Because, of course, Rose met Parallel Pete,
Yeah.
sure. Rose has even met her own father in Father's
Yeah.
Day from
Yeah.
series 1 in our world. But this is actively seeing her father and her mother together again.
Together. Yeah.
And that, I mean, she's never seen that because, she was a very, very small baby when
Yeah. When they were
Pete
together. Yeah.
died.
Yeah. And
Um,
even when she did see them together in that Father's Day episode, they were very, like, at odds with each other.
They were, yes. But you can imagine that will always be the case, won't
Yeah.
it? And obviously, Parallel Pete no longer has his Jackie because, as we saw in
Yeah.
the Age
She
of
got,
Steel two-parter,
yeah,
she got turned into a cyber
into a
person.
Cyberman. Yeah.
So it's nice, it's lovely that I think they have each
Mhm.
other again
Yeah.
at that point. It brings that family together, and I think that family, as well as Mickey, all being together is what makes the very ending for Rose, I think, a little bit more palatable in the fact that at least she's not alone. Now, let's
Yeah.
get into this ending now, because obviously the breach in time is opened by
Yeah.
the Doctor. The Doctor kind of figures out that he can send both the Daleks and the Cybermen back into the void from where they came from, but not quite getting out into the
Yeah.
parallel world. For example, he's not going to send them all the way back there. He's just going to send them to the void and then shut the breach, and then there'll
Yeah.
be no going back at all. But obviously, kind of what happens, the Tylers being Pete, Jackie, Mickey, do go to the parallel world
Yeah.
on their little, button travel devices that they can't quite keep coming back and forth in,
Yeah.
lest
Yeah.
destroying the world.
The world a little bit at a time. Yeah.
There is an enormous conversation that takes place between Rose and the Doctor, and how the Doctor believes Rose should be going with them because, look, she's your mom. Go and stay
Be
with your
with your
mom. I don't want
parents.
to
Yeah,
leave your
your father's
parents.
rich there in
Yeah,
this version of
you have
reality for you.
you have your whole family again. You will not
Mhm.
be able to travel. You will not be able to see them again if you don't
If you
go,
don't go.
and
Yeah.
you will not be able to. But obviously, as opposed to that, Rose knows that she will not be able to see the Doctor again
The
if
doctor
she
again.
does go. It's the same thing, and
Yeah, back and forth. Yeah.
it's the dilemma Rose
Mhm.
faces at this
Yeah.
particular moment. Personally, I know I'm rambling here, and I'm going to get to my question. Personally, I believe Rose makes a little bit of a silly decision in choosing to stay with the Doctor. Of course, I understand
Yeah.
why. she would do that. Of course, I understand her mentality. Doing she is the time traveler. She's gone on all these adventures. She
Yeah, she's
believes her and
found
the
her
Doctor
purpose
are
for
she
herself.
found a
Yeah.
purpose. Her and the Doctor are as one. I'm not saying for any length of time at all that I don't understand Rosie's mentality in
Motivations,
staying
yeah.
with the and motivations to reject traveling to that parallel world, even with her whole family and Mickey, and
Mickey, yeah.
it could be a wonderful thing for her. Of course, I understand it. That is where the emotional power of this final 10 minutes of this episode comes from. It's that decision that she makes to stay with the Doctor.
Yeah.
But you've got to think, and I will ask this question, how the hell must Jackie feel at that moment? How must Jackie
Yeah.
feel at that moment?
Yeah, that, like, look, you have the choice between your whole family, and you are choosing to leave us permanently. Like, it's not even a dilemma for her, really. She's like, "No, I'm not going with you. I'm going with him. I'm staying with the Doctor." So had there been maybe a little bit more of a, like, hesitancy or struggle to decide, that would
Yeah,
have been one thing, but she immediately knows that she wants to stay with the Doctor.
yeah,
So yeah, that's gotta be kind of a crappy feeling for Jackie. But I think at this point, she kind of understands seeing what Rose has been able to do, um, in the time that she's been away, and understanding that. I will say I did appreciate that it was kind of nice to see a motivation that I don't know was really put to the forefront with her connection to the Doctor. That kind of this episode forces the point that, like, her main reason for not wanting to leave him is because she doesn't want him to be alone.
yeah,
So, it's like in one way you feel like it's a selfish thing for her to not wanna be with her family and do her own thing, but
yeah,
this episode really kind of hammered home the point that she's doing it because she's scared of him being alone. She doesn't want him to have to travel the universes in endless time by himself. So it's a selfless thing on her part because she just wants to, be with him so he's not lonely through his travels.
yeah. Um, I think the darkly funny thing about that is anybody with any knowledge of Doctor Who knows that the Doctor will always find a companion. That, like Rose, the tragic thing about a lot of Rose's mentalities is the fact that Rose believes she is. I know this is going to sound harsh, but Rose believes she's special, and in terms of the Doctor, and like she's just another companion.
Yeah.
That is the
And I think
Doctor's. I know, I understand the Doctor has a particular fondness for Rose Tyler, and
yes.
he does.
Yeah.
Absolutely, the Doctor does have a particular fondness for Rose Tyler, but there was companions before Rose, obviously in classic Who, and there's
Yeah.
companions after Rose, some of which a good few of which the general consensus is they're stronger companions in terms of the dynamic than the Doctor and Rose. So Rose has never been able to come to terms with the Doctor having some sort
No.
of fondness for anybody else. For
Yeah,
Sarah
'cause
Jane, as we saw in School Reunion, for
yeah,
Madame
that
de
was her first.
Pompadour, as we saw in The Girl in the Fireplace.
Yeah,
She's never been able to come to terms with it. Even Jack,
yeah,
to a degree, you
yeah.
know, she
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean,
necessarily like that.
yeah, I mean, that was kind of her first realization that she is not the only one, nor will she be the only one when she met Sarah Jane. And so I liked that, like, okay, the Doctor's really being honest with her about that. Like, when he says that line to her, you will spend you could spend the rest of your life with me, but I could never spend the rest of my life with you.
Yes.
Um, and meeting Sarah Jane and seeing their connection, and knowing there was someone before her. Um, and knowing she's not going to live forever to be with him as long as, she would want to.
He's 900 plus years old, the Doctor, at this point, so
Exactly. So even when it was right in front of her face, she still struggled to accept it. So I
yeah.
knew even in this moment when it is kind of the big do or die that she was going to struggle to accept it. Um, so it's to the point where he forces her to go with her family. But then
He
she
does,
hits the button one
he
more time.
puts one of
They
those
was
devices
Yeah,
over
over
her
her
neck
head.
while
Yeah,
she's faced the other way and then presses it for her
yeah,
and looks okay. Let it be said that David Tennant does a phenomenal job at looking the saddest anybody has ever looked at this
yeah,
point as well. He's very, very good over the course of this 10th Doctor era at
yeah,
looking
mhm,
absolutely devastated when he
yeah,
needs to look absolutely devastated. And I think at this,
yes,
but for these last 10 minutes of this episode, he does a phenomenal emotional performance. He really
yeah,
does. He does not want to say goodbye to Rose, which is why he can't bring himself to say that proper goodbye to Rose
yeah,
yet, and
yeah,
just bashes that little device to send her with the rest of the Tylers and Mickey on into the parallel world, never, seem it. He believes never to return. He
yeah,
believes that is what she does. But basically, immediately, we see her in the parallel world going, I've got to go back to him. And Pete and Jackie are like, no,
yeah.
you can just stay. It's fine.
Just
He'll sort
stay,
it out.
yeah,
He's going to be okay. It's the Doctor. He's going to be okay. He's going to
yeah,
sort this out. That world's gonna be okay. We're here now. It's us. Look, we know what we're
yeah.
doing. We've got everybody here now. Look, your dad's back, and he actually wants to be your
To
dad
be
this
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah,
He's not terrified like he was at the end of the Age of Steel
yeah.
two-parter. But she immediately just goes back, and the
Yeah.
Doctor's like, "What are you doing?
"What are you
Back! Just
doing?
stop
Go."
traveling.
Yeah.
Go and be with your family." "No, I'm staying with you. You're not going to change your mind. What can I do? How can I
But
help?"
can I kinda
And he
help?
kind of
Yeah,
relents
mhm,
at that point. He just says, "Well, just go over there and do that then. Okay, come on.
yeah, yeah,
We'll sort it. Okay, but if you really want this so much, we've got to do this now. Let's go and do this now." And they start
yeah,
pulling those enormous levers and
yeah,
opening up the big white wall of the space-time breach.
yeah, to pull
And
everything
it
into it.
works, doesn't it? Yes, we
Mhm,
see all the war going on outside still of the Cybermen shooting
mhm,
the Daleks shooting the Cybermen, the revolutionaries doing the same and everything, the
yeah,
army, and
mhm,
it's all chaos.
yeah,
The Cybermen, to be fair to them as well, like alongside the revolutionaries, which is a little bit strange because the revolutionaries have those really impressive weapons that are
yeah,
seemingly able to
to take out
break through
all
the
of
Daleks'
Yeah,
armor, which is
mhm,
very, very unusual. Nothing can
yeah,
break through a Dalek's armor, so that
yeah,
is impressive.
yeah,
And alongside the Cybermen's kind of blasts, the Cybermen's blasts on their own do absolutely nothing to the
yeah.
Daleks. But obviously, the Daleks' extermination rays completely obliterate everything
Obliterate
in
the
their
thing,
path.
yeah, yeah, mhm,
They are much more powerful in that sense. There is a little bit more, and I do wish it would delve into the philosophy of it more. I really, really do. There is a touch more of the idea of the Cybermen all being one hive mind, all being one
mhm,
being. You will become us. There will be no more gender, no more race, no more creed, no more
yeah, oh, yeah,
nationalities. We
'cause
are
you will
all
all be
one.
yeah,
And like, oh, you're giving me that, but then you're not going any deeper with it. No, I just wish you went a little bit deeper with it. Like, you're
yeah.
giving me the idea of it,
It's
but
interesting concept of, like, you think you're doing something to strip away any kind of dividing factor amongst people, which on its surface sounds good,
of
but
course.
there's a far more dark kind of, stripping away of individuality in that,
And I'm
that,
sure, to
if
be
you start
honest,
to dig deeper on,
I'm sure if we went back and watched the origin. Well, I say the origins. I don't know whether it's an origin story in truth, but we went back and watched the first bunch of Cybermen stories from the
Yeah.
Patrick Troughton era in the late, the mid late 60s when the Cybermen first came into Doctor Who. It would likely be these more obvious sort of communism satirical things going on,
Yeah.
and the philosophical sci-fi would I think be stronger in that sense. This era is few and far between about the philosophical sci-fi of Doctor Who. When it
Yeah.
is, it's done really well. I think
Yeah.
when we do eventually get into the Stephen Moffat era, it's done a little bit better in that era in
Okay.
terms of in the philosophical sci-fi sense. But
Mhm.
what this era does very, very well is scale. It
Mhm.
is kind of
Oh, yeah.
raw. It's emotion.
It's huge.
It's
Yeah, stakes. Yeah.
melodrama is what it does
Yeah.
really well,
Yeah.
essentially. Um, but then you're kind of questioning, well, why tease me with something that could get really darkly philosophically deep
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And
then
then not go there
just
with
leave
it.
it there?
Yeah. Yeah.
But okay, I can forgive
There's a
because
lot
there's
going
too
on.
much more else
Yeah.
going on. And we do only have 45 minutes of television.
Yeah.
There's way too much more else going on. But we obviously see all that war going on outside, and it looks very destructive. But as soon as that breach is opened, well, everything starts getting sucked back in. All those millions of
Mhm.
Daleks that exited out of the
The
Genesis arc
prison.
in
Yeah.
some silly 2006 CG looking nonsense.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the show to get into full HD, by the
Better
way.
budget time.
To actually
Yeah.
see the show in full HD. It doesn't get there for a little while, and
Ooh,
it's
okay.
kind of annoying. But when it does, it's so noticeable. Like the whole show just looks
Looks better.
miles better
Okay.
visually, and it's bizarre. It is bizarre. BBC cheap. It's great. We don't mind it. We don't mind. There's a point to be said that Doctor Who is sometimes better when it is cheaper. I mean, look at it now, and it just looks a bit silly.
Yeah.
It's too much. In the recent series of Doctor Who,
Yeah.
it's barely Doctor Who. Some people would
Okay.
consider it barely Doctor Who. It just looks. I mean, what does it even look like? It doesn't look like Doctor
Mm,
Who. That's what it
okay.
looks like. Um, But, well, I've forgotten what I was saying. The breach is open. Everything starts getting sucked
Yeah.
back in. All the Daleks into the void. The Cybermen lift up, all going, and start all going into the void. Because there's so many of them, it takes obviously quite a
Yeah.
while. But
Yeah.
everybody on the street is seeing all these Daleks zoom into the top of
Tucked
Torchwood
away.
Tower.
Yeah.
And must be thinking, oh, something is going on up there. They're doing something right.
Yeah.
But what are the Doctor and Rose doing in Torchwood Tower,
They're
at the
trying to
breach?
hold on and not get
They're trying to
sucked
hold on for
in.
dear life
Yeah.
on these levers
Yeah.
and on these little sort of clamp things that the Doctor's
Yeah.
decided to get very
Gotten.
cleverly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but then Rose has to pull the lever back. The lever's gotten a bit loose on her side,
Yeah.
and she has to let go of the clamp thing
And
and
get
go
to the
to the
lever.
lever. Get to the lever, pull it back, and it's very intense. All the music is very intense.
Yes, and her
If there's
hand
one
slipping
thing,
from it, she's getting
oh
sucked
yes,
in, she's grasping, has to, tighten her grip, and then it loosens again. It's very intense. Doctor's
if
fear
the,
on his face,
terrified,
shouting for her to
absolutely
hold
terrified.
on. He can't do anything to help her. He's trying to reach for her, but he knows, he can't.
And if there is one thing that is, perhaps the true consistent high point of Doctor Who of this era, it is the music. Murray
Yeah.
Gold is behind the music of this era
Okay.
of Doctor Who, and it's constantly some of the best stuff in each and every episode. Is the music swells, the music cues, the great score pieces that he
Yeah.
made for this era of Doctor Who. It's wonderful, wonderful stuff, and you get it at the
I liked it.
end
Mhm.
of Doomsday here as well. Now, what happens? Rose slips off the lever.
Yeah.
She looks like, so it's all slow-mo as well. It's very dramatic. She
Yeah.
looks like she's falling back into what ultimately would be the void. Now, we thought at one point, okay, if she went and got quote unquote trapped in the parallel universe, she would at least have Jackie, Pete, Mickey, and a life. If she goes to
Yeah.
the void, she's got the Cybermen and the Daleks and nothingness.
There,
Oh, good.
exactly.
What
Yeah,
a good
it's
existence.
yeah, they describe it as like a hellscape. So,
A true
yeah,
hellscape. True
yeah,
nothingness, but you've got Daleks and Cybermen in there floating
yeah.
about. That'll be really enjoyable for
Oh, yeah.
eternity. That looks like it might happen for a split second to
Yeah.
Rose when she falls back. But then we get a bit of Pete ex machina, don't we? And Pete somehow times it perfectly. I don't know how, I don't care.
Yes, and they're like, don't they? They're literally right in front of the wall where there
They are
should
right in
be
front of
some
the wall.
suction, but they're not getting pulled in. He's just able to grab her. They like stand for 2 seconds, like when they should be
Now,
getting sucked in,
I think
and then
we've
he's able
probably
to
got
get
to
her out.
remember. I think we've probably got to remember that this is all in slow mo, so it's probably a split second sort of in and out
Sure,
from
sure,
Pete.
okay,
I'm reading it as that.
okay,
Pete comes in, catches Rose before she gets into the void, and then
yeah,
pings
and
his
takes
little
them both
device
back.
and sends them both
Yeah,
back. Rose, at this point, devastated,
yeah,
sobbing, you know, leaning onto the breach wall of her side.
yeah, yeah.
The doctor,
The breach closes, so he goes to the
breach
wall.
closes. The doctor, desolate himself,
Yeah,
obviously saw Pete grab her, so knows
yeah,
she's okay,
she's
which is
okay. Yeah,
important.
yeah,
So, but he obviously has to finish the job, closes the breach. We get Pete's confirmation that the devices no longer work. The breach has been
yeah,
totally closed. The doctor did it. He saved, both our worlds.
yeah,
Well done, the doctor. Applause, applause for the
yeah.
doctor. But it's not about applause for the doctor, is it? Because it's about the most tragically sad little
Yeah.
sequence of shots you've ever seen in your entire life.
Yeah.
Of Rose sobbing on one side in the dark, and the doctor sobbing on the not sobbing, but the
Yeah.
doctor looking very, very
Yeah,
sad
both of
on
them
the other
against
side.
this, same wall in different universes, leaning
Yeah.
on it, sensing each other.
Yes. Side of the face onto the wall, just going,
Yeah,
"Can I feel anything of
whimpering.
you?"
Yeah,
Whimpering, sobbing. Oh, it is very sad. It is
yeah,
so, so emotional. And
yeah.
you I'm sure at that point you maybe thought that was the high point of the heavy emotion of the episode.
Oh, yeah, yes, I was not happy. I was like, "Oh, is this it? Like, they don't even get a goodbye? Like, what is happening?" Yeah,
That is true separation right there.
yes, yes.
That is the pinnacle of the separation arcs we've been seeing over the course of
Yeah.
this series. But it gets even more emotional, really, doesn't it? I mean, I will stop waffling myself and allow you to tell us what happens after that breach is closed. Rose tries to begin to live a life in the parallel
Yeah.
universe,
So she
and
goes home
what
with
she
her
then
mother
sees.
and father. Yeah, so she goes home with her mother and father and Mickey. He lives in a nice rich house, and so
Oh
she
yes,
wakes up, she hears, her name being whispered. She's waking up in bed, and she hears it over and over again. And she wakes up when we hear her voiceover that we had been hearing her talking about this dream that she had.
yeah,
And so she tells her mom and dad and Mickey about this dream. And I love that they just listen to her. Like, they're not telling her to ignore it or that it's in her head or that she just needs to forget. They literally are just like immediately sat listening to her explain this dream, that this voice is calling her and it's telling her to go somewhere. So they pack up this truck and go where the voice is following them, just driving for miles and miles. So no questions asked. I love that,
No.
like, this is the support you were going to leave behind. Like, look at these people just completely like all in on on you having these dreams, listening to you and saying, "Oh, this voice is calling you. Okay, let's follow it." Like,
Well, because they all know the impact the Doctor had on her. The
yeah.
Doctor's had impact on all three of them as well.
Yeah.
So, let
Yeah, they
alone
completely
Rose. Rose
understand
is
it. Yeah, so at least to be with people not just that care about you and getting kind of this life back, but also people who understand your experience. So you could talk about all these crazy things and they'll understand it because they were there for some of it. They know that it's real. So
Yeah,
like how I could kind of take solace in that these are the people she's with, people who at least understand, where she's been and
yeah,
what she's done, and she can talk about these things with. So yeah, they drive and follow this voice until they get to this beach, and she walks to the spot where, the voice is being heard, and she sees the Doctor standing there, and he's very kind
yes,
of faded. Um, and he was the one calling her. He was projecting himself to this spot. He doesn't even know where it is. But
no,
it was kind of the closest place he could project himself to. Um, and so she asked him to make himself more clear, so he does. And it's almost like she can touch him, but she can't because he's just a
yeah.
hologram. Um, but he's
It's
there
the
this
the Doctor Who equivalent of a Force ghost from Star Wars,
essentially.
essentially.
Yes, and so he says he's
It's
there.
just a TARDIS projection, is what it is. He's stood in
Yes,
the TARDIS, orbiting a supernova to get the energy enough
energy that he
to
needs
do
to
this
say goodbye.
projection.
Yeah, and so the fact that he's, like, doing this risky thing to get this power just to say goodbye to her, like,
Yeah,
just kind of a thing to show how much he cares about her without directly saying that.
yeah.
So yeah, at this point, I'm a bit of a mess, and I'm wishing that I had the TARDIS to go back to before I watched this. Thank you very much. Back to my safe little time, just watching series 1. Um, and she's like telling him that she doesn't want him to be alone, and you
Yeah,
know she's sad that she'll never see him again, and um she tells him that she loves him,
yeah,
and as he's about to say it back, potentially the projection goes away.
yes.
Mm,
No more
yeah,
energy.
yeah,
Cuts off.
yeah,
And
and
we
so
see and
she's
we see him we see him stood in the TARDIS then just crying.
crying, yeah, and he seems kind of surprised that he's having this reaction a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Surprised
and the fact that
that he's having this reaction, surprised that he
yeah,
was about to say what he was about to say, and
yeah,
surprised that, the projection cut off at exactly that moment. It's
that
all
time.
that in one.
Yes. Yeah. And then, yeah, we see Jackie come up to her and just hug her, and she's just
Yeah.
distraught. So yeah, then we end with the Doctor and the TARDIS crying, being very surprised at what's just happened. And
Yes.
then he sees a woman in a wedding dress just
He
standing in the
does.
TARDIS.
He does.
And he's like, "Who are you?" She's like, "Who are you? Why am I here? What's going on?" And he's very much like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So that was a little
I
confusing.
Okay. I will ask a couple of questions then before we, speak about the bride in the TARDIS, as it were.
Yeah.
The Do we feel like the sacrifice the Doctor made in separating himself permanently from Rose in order to save the Doomsday, as it were,
Mhm.
was necessary, justified, the only thing possible?
Yes, and I'm glad they did it like that because had it been just him, like, severing the tie or just, like, Jackie wanting her to stay or,
Yeah,
um like her getting taken somewhere else, or like him just like saying it's enough, now your time is up. Next, now on to
or
the
her
next.
dying. Because she doesn't,
Yes.
it's very important to acknowledge that she may have been going on about this narration of this is how I die, this is my final story, and all this business. She does not die. This is
No, but
not
in
death.
her time, in her timeline, she has been noted as dead. That's why she said
Correct.
that.
Yes, in
So
her
he tells her
world.
that. He tells in her timeline, in her world, she has been cited as dead. So that's why she says that in that narration. Yes, I'm glad they did it in this way where it was like an impossibility. Like there was no other way to be together. Like this is what it
Yeah,
had to be. And the fact that they give her this happy place to be, that she's with Mickey, she's with her parents reunited, and she's essentially rich. So, and then we
yeah.
learned that also her parents had a new baby as well. So,
Yes, there's a new baby on the way. I mean, I don't know how old
yeah,
Jackie is at this point. Wouldn't she Rosie's 19. Jackie's not
I want to
young to be
say
having
they
a baby.
said she was in her 30s. I
She's
think,
like a
because I want to say
I
they
reckon
stated
Jackie
it,
is
and
a
I remember
young
being
mother.
like, I thought I
I
remembered an episode where they
would
like
just
cited her age, and like I remember being kind of surprised, like,
well, just think if Rosie's 19, that is
yeah,
canonically accurate. Like, is Jackie
yeah.
Jackie's no younger than 38.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's still a baby making
But it's
age,
still
so
look, well, it is, yes, it is.
yeah.
It is. I suppose. Fair enough,
So
she's not 48. So when she'll
yeah.
be thinking, oh, that's very old to be having a baby. But okay.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm glad they
Um
did it this way, that it was like, this is the only way that they could both survive. No way they could stay together in this scenario. It had to be a do or die situation, or I would have been very unhappy. I would have been angry. Like, I'm
okay.
just sad. But if it had
Which
been
is the
some
best
dumb thing,
yeah, which is I
I
think
would have
is
been angry.
exactly
Yeah.
what you after having seen it, after having watched it and sat through it, I mean, me watching it again all this time later, it's been long many years since I've watched Doomsday. I still get the emotional impact of it. I know exactly
Mm, yeah.
what was going to happen. I know exactly what's to come in the future for
Yeah.
this era, but
Yeah.
it doesn't. I think the emotional impact is still hold strong. I've seen other people across social medias, across whatever it may be, say that upon rewatch, the 10th Doctor era maybe doesn't hold up as much as some others. I don't feel that myself. I really don't feel that myself. I feel like it does
Okay.
hold up on rewatch, and I'm sure it will as we continue to go forward. It's not obviously my first rewatch ever of this era of Doctor Who. It's far
Yeah.
from it. It's like probably my third rewatch ever of this,
Yeah.
era of Doctor Who, I would say. And every single time I've watched it, it's felt like I always enjoy it. I always get what
Mhm.
is intended out of it. And I completely disagree with anybody saying that it is not impactful upon rewatch. I really, really think it is. Just because you know what's going to happen doesn't mean the
Yeah, doesn't
performances
mean
are any less
yeah.
great. Doesn't mean the writing at certain moments is any less great. I know there's some inconsistencies with this era, with this series
Mhm.
particularly. We've obviously talked about every single episode
Yeah.
here. We
Yeah.
know there's inconsistencies, but overall, you can't deny that quality emotional impact. And
Yeah.
we are supposed to be sad at this separation at the end of this episode, and it's a little bit. I'm saying it's sad with a little bit of a wry smile on my face as well. Now you can read into that whatever you want to read
Yeah.
into that, Jeannine, but I'm saying it's sad with a wry smile on my face because I know the future
What's to
of this
come.
era of Doctor Who. And you
Okay.
said something, you're speaking about, oh, the goodbyes, oh, can't possibly, you know, ever see each other again, all this business. And I'm saying it with a wry smile on my
Well, I
face.
think that, when we kind of pre-show discussed, our, thoughts on this, you, I think, asked me if I thought Rose would come back. And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Let's ask that question. Let's distinctly ask that question. And I'll ask it because I think if I ask it directly, the Spotify or YouTube chapters will automatically recognize it as a little talking point for people to click to, and I like
Okay.
that it does that sometimes. Will we see Rose Tyler again, in your opinion?
Well, I have a concept of how this show works, so I'm banking
Yeah.
on yes, there's going to be some holiday special or some nonsense where she comes back.
There's going to be some version of some Rose Tyler somewhere
That's gonna just
comes
pop
back.
up. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Fair. I mean, stick with your belief on that. Stick with
Okay.
your belief on that, because
Okay.
even if you do believe that, it will not tell you how that happens or how that may happen. It will not tell you why that may happen. It will not tell
Okay.
you what that may result in.
Okay.
What I will say is, I don't know if you'll be mad at what it results in.
Oh god.
No, I mean that in the positive. Like, I
Okay.
think you'll be quite happy in what it may result in. And I know I've just outwardly said there that Rose does come back. Yeah, yay for Rose. This isn't the end of Rose, okay?
Yes, but no, it's like
Just
I'm aware of kind of a few things of, other doctors being able to come back when there is another
yeah,
doctor and things like
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah.
I've even
We'll
seen
see
this
that.
doctor's I've seen multiple clips of this doctor's goodbye, like, "I don't wanna go," so, like, I know that's
Okay.
coming and, like, all that kinda stuff, so there are things I am aware of and kind of I've gotten into the feel of the concept of the show, because I did, like, plan when I started watching Doctor Who decades ago, I had planned to go through the whole thing. So I had researched and looked up, I think when I was looking at like my Fandango purchases, I have some Doctor Who special about like all the companions that I bought because I had all this whole plan to like be very studied on Doctor Who. But after falling in love with Eccleston and him and Rose together, I was like, I don't wanna go on to the next part, so I just
Yeah.
stopped watching it. So, yeah, there are things that I have seen and I'm aware of, so
Okay.
I'm not, you know, beyond the pale of thinking that, yeah, Rose
Okay.
will probably come back in some capacity.
Okay. Well, yes, I will confirm that in the positive. I will also confirm that you will see Mickey again.
Okay.
I will also confirm that I do not believe you will ever see Jackie and Pete again, from my
Oh,
recollection.
okay.
No more Jackie and Pete.
Well, that's a
So
bummer.
Jackie's a 2-season and done character.
Okay.
But a great one, Jackie's been great
Yeah.
for 2 series. Jackie's been a
Yes.
great side character. I
Yeah.
don't think we see Jackie again. I might be wrong. I don't think we do.
Okay.
But we do see Rose, quote unquote, again, and we do see Mickey again.
Okay.
But
Okay.
this obviously opens the door to a new series, a Christmas special before we get into
Okay.
that new series, of course. And in the next episode of Diving into Doctor Who, of course, we will be talking about the Christmas special titled The Runaway Bride. As we alluded to earlier,
Oh,
a
mhm.
bride does appear in the form of Catherine Tate on
Yes.
the TARDIS. At the end of this episode, the Doctor's very confused. He can't say
Yeah.
anything other than "What? What? What?" That's all the Doctor says.
Yeah.
And Catherine Tate's Donna Noble does just insist on knowing where the hell she is, who the hell the Doctor is, what is she
Yeah.
doing there, what's going on, how am I here, what's happening.
Yeah.
We will see the outcome of that
Hey.
in the Christmas special, The Runaway Bride, before getting into series 3 with the opening episode, Smith and Jones. In the next episode of Diving into Doctor Who, both those episodes will be being discussed. Obviously, the Christmas special maybe it's a little bit lengthier. I believe it's a little bit lengthier anyway, but it's a special, isn't it? So you may be thinking,
Yeah.
oh, well, shouldn't a special deserve its own episode on its own, like this finale got its own episode on its own? Well, no, it didn't, because the way Series 3 is presented, there's that many good two-parters that I couldn't
Yeah.
split up all the two-parters. I had to have all the two-parters together.
I know.
It's too good a series to split things up haphazardly. And
Yeah, it happened a couple of times. Yeah.
it happened a couple of times this series, but Series 3, it's too strong in the main to be splitting things up willy-nilly and potentially spoiling the impact of certain things if we're not
We'll try to organize it then.
If we're not. So it ended up being that we are watching the Runaway Bride Christmas special, or we're talking the Runaway Bride Christmas special and the start of Series 3, Smith and Jones, that doesn't feature the runaway, the bride as she is, as the companion, by the way. The Runaway Bride is the companion for this Christmas special and not for Series 3.
Okay.
Whether we see the Runaway Bride again, I will ask you that question as well, Jeannine, by the end of the episode.
I mean, I think we do, because I think I saw promos of...
Oh, so you're ruining the teasers.
Well, because like I didn't know who she was until she appeared on The American Office. So I think that's how I, got to know this actress. And so I think there were like promos or things that I saw that I watched of her like coming back, and it was like a big deal. And I was like, that's that lady from like the later seasons of The Office. So
yeah. Okay. There, I won't get into.
So I don't remember the context. I don't remember anything about who she is, what she does, her contributions. I just remember it kind of being an announcement type thing when she was coming back, I think.
It was, and that would be obviously fairly recently for the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. You would have seen that, which, yes, it was very exciting, justifiably very exciting, because this character is, as a companion, is incredibly beloved. I'm not going to say any more than that. We'll watch the Runaway Bride
today, so
yes. But yeah, that is what's coming next on diving into Doctor Who. We have to process the end of Series 2, the departure of Rose Tyler, the sadness.
They're both gone. They're both gone.
Well, I don't know what you mean they're both gone. The Doctor is still there.
I know, but my reasons for not moving on, they're both gone.
But you enjoy David Tennant.
I have moved on. Yes, I do.
Enough.
I do enjoy him, and I will enjoy him more until he leaves me too.
I'll be honest with you, Jeannine. He's going to be a little bit depressed for a bit in Series 3 because of what's happened.
I'm sure. Well, I'm good, because I'll be depressed right alongside him. So.
But I know you'll enjoy a lot of what's to come in Series 3. I really do. But there we go for this episode of diving into Doctor Who Doomsday, the finale of Series 2, Bad Wolf Bay, all the sadness, all the misery, all the romantic longing. Do we mind the Doctor as a romantic lead? You certainly don't. I've never really minded him as a romantic lead. Each iteration of the Doctor needs to be distinctly different from one another, and it's just whatever the individual prefers, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I'm like, in my head, I'm just like, I think people want the Doctor to be asexual when they're not attracted to the actor.
Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose I get that to a certain degree. Interesting. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, well, that will do it for today's episode, as we've said, of diving into Doctor Who. Obviously, at the moment, this show is alternating on our TV-based things here on a Monday on It's a Wonderful Podcast with the return of Discovering Dawson's Creek. Very exciting to be back with that Morgan Hasn't Seen is every Wednesday, of course, as well as the main show. It's a Wonderful Podcast celebrating old movies every Friday. Excitement and fun all week long, wherever you are listening or watching on It's a Wonderful Podcast. Do subscribe and ding your notification bell on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel if you are watching today's episode, of course, and subscribe wherever you may be listening on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed across all the major podcast platforms. Leave your comments on Spotify. What do you think about Doomsday, this Series 2 finale, this era, Rose Tyler's departure, all of it? Keep the spoilers to a minimum for Jeannine's sake, please.
Yeah.
But what do you think? It would be nice to hear from you all. But yes, do subscribe wherever you are listening. Leave your comments on Spotify, rate, review, like, share, wherever you may be. If you would like to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, you can find links to do that in the description of today's episode. Or you can find us on and across all the social medias, on the app formerly known as Twitter, and on Blue Sky at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Purple Dom with the 3 instead of the E and the because, Jeannine.
3 is a magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the Purple Dom. All your Bad Wolf Bay sadness is where.
You can find me, Jeannine Devine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search G9 Design on tpublic.com.
Well, it does leave only one thing left to do. And I suppose anytime Daleks do show up, I have to do the countdown, don't I? Because I like
yes, you do the best
of
Dalek
voice. When will the next time we see the Daleks be? I don't think they're in Series 3.
Oh, wow.
Are they in Series 3? What's the end? No, they're not in Series 3. They're not in Series 3. No Daleks in Series 3.
So this will be the last time for a while then.
Last time for a little while we'll be seeing the Daleks, but it does mean we get 3, 2, 1. I will destroy everyone with just one Dalek. Bye.
Bye.